everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Cooler Master Masterbox TD500 Mesh V2. I did receive this sample from Cooler Master, but I want you to know that any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this particular case or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Here's a look at the retail box and packaging. Everything looks great. You get a nice look and feel for that polygonal mesh design that really sets this case apart. Additional product information on the back, as well as the other side. You have all of your tech specs right here. And then on the front, you'll see we have our two different color options, black or white. We have the black version here. This particular case comes with three, so triple ARGB 120 millimeter fans. This also has USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C support with it. And it's got the tool-free side panel to remove, which is great. This does have a tempered glass side panel. And the power supply shroud has a removable cover for you. You can also remove the top panel and the hard drive cage. So there's a lot that you can do with this particular case. Also want to point out that it does come with an ARGB controller, which we'll look at here in just a second. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Looking for a secure and reliable way to access the internet? Look no further than ExpressVPN. Protect your personal information and browsing history from prying eyes. Act now and sign up for ExpressVPN today using our link in the description and receive an extra 3 months of service for free. Here are all the contents. First up, you'll see we have our user guide and manual walking us through all the included hardware that's included. It also gives you step-by-step setup instructions depending on what part or component you're trying to install in the case, as you'll see right here. Very detailed, very thorough. Everything you need, both sides. Again, multiple configurations. What cooler are you using? How you trying to mount your fans? That sort of thing. So they have you covered there. Next, you'll see all the hardware included here. Zip ties, plenty of screws, grommets, hard drive trays, standoffs, everything right there. Lastly, we have the case itself. Let's look at this in more detail. Here's a look at the top of the case. You'll notice we have a removable cover here. It's magnetic, so it just snaps right on and we can slide it into place. Easy to wash, remove, and clean as needed. You'll see all of our mounting options here for your radiators, AIOs, and your cooling fans. Next, you'll see our back side where we have our two screws to remove the back panel, one screw to remove the front panel. You'll see a spot for an exhaust fan, motherboard, I/O here. We have our expansion slots, additional cooling, and our power supply mount at the bottom. Here's a look at the very bottom of the case. You'll see our 4 feet here, giving it a nice solid base. Removable cover to easily clean that filter right there. That's going to be for our power supply fan. You'll see on this side, the front of the case, below the front panel, we have this option here. That's the handle we can use to remove the front panel cover. Here's a look at the front panel. You'll notice the Cooler Master logo and branding at the bottom, our polygonal mesh design. We have 3 cooling fans inside that are RGB that will light up and glow through here. Up at the top, you'll see 2 USB Type A ports, illuminated power button. We have our audio jack here for our headphones and microphone. We have our LED control button, and we have our USB Type C port. The front panel cover removes easily. There's a look at the inside of it, and you'll see our 320 millimeter cooling fans right there. Here's a look at the back side of the case with our panel installed. Now you're seeing the back panel with the cover removed. Plenty of tie down points here for cable management. A lot of grommets, cutouts, and holes to route and fish all of our cables through. You'll see our tray down here for 2 additional 3.5-inch drives. 2 more 2.5-inch SSDs right there. Plenty of room for a power supply. All the included I/O cables right there with our RGB and fan hub here. We got room for another fan here, and looks like 2 more ARGB devices, all connected to the reset switch to the front of the case, which is the LED button. Now we're looking at the front side panel with our tempered glass. Really cool design built into the top and the bottom of this panel. Take note, we have 1 screw right up here at the top to remove to get the panel off. All right, here's a look inside the case with the panel removed. Already have our standoff brackets installed. We have our key right here, depending on if you're going to use an ATX, micro ATX, or mini ATX board. And you can rearrange those as you see fit. Plenty of room on the inside though for additional cooling. However you want to configure this build, you can get really creative. You'll see down here too, we have our power supply shroud. This is a removable cover that pops right off there to reveal our power supply. And if I tilt this up a little bit, you'll see we have some additional cooling there and another channel down here to get access to the back side of our build. Here's those grommets from the other side. And if you tip it this way, you'll see the 3 CF120 ARGB fans that are included. Now let's go ahead and get our PC built. All right, our PC's been built. Everything works great. Take a look at this case. Beautiful from the front with our triple fan array, polygonal mesh. Side looks great too. We added our Hyper 212 Halo Black cooler and an additional Halo fan on the back side. Now let's take a close-up look at the build. All right, really happy with how this build turned out in this particular case. You'll notice off to the side, we have so much additional room we didn't even utilize or take advantage of in this build. There's a look at the back side of our 3 fans illuminated, glowing beautifully. Power supply shroud right there. Beautiful MSI motherboard. We're using the Intel 13600K with an MSI 3060. Hyper 212 cooler. Those Halo fans are great. I love having the rings on the side. I swapped RAM out. We're using some Lexar DDR4 Aries RAM there. In white, actually. LOL. All of our cable connections. Everything looks really nice. Again, plenty of room and space here. I mean, look at that up at the top. Down below. Especially just using a nice tower cooler. Here's a peek at the back side. Power supply down at the bottom. And looking at the back side, you'll see we kept their cable management intact here. And then we just added our power supply cables in here for our CPU. Routed our HD audio. Front panel connectors there. Our exhaust fan and RGB right here, as well as the RGB for our CPU cooler. That's coming in here and connecting. But plenty of room to work with. We did take out the hard drive cage here. You could, if you wanted, keep that in and manage things. We just didn't have a use for it, but it's nice that we have that modular design. Don't forget about adding additional SSDs if you want. Plenty of room back here. And then here's a top look if you wanted that top-down view with the mesh cover removed. Looks pretty cool to see our fans glowing through there. Don't think I'd forget about our RGB showcase right here. Look at this. This is awesome, guys. We can just use the dedicated front panel LED button to cycle through the different lighting effects. Very bright, very vibrant. They look really cool. Love all the different RGB rainbow ones. Those are always my favorite to see all the colors. But nice lighting effects here. A lot of color changes. Pick and choose right here at your fingertips. No additional software needed. Which color you like or prefer. They have some great options for you. Right here, you can just cycle through all of them, pushing that button on the front panel. And for us, no software needed to get all of them to work together. Since we're using Cooler Master fans, everything's in unison there, which I'm really, really happy with. All right, now it's time for my favorite test. We're going to be using the smoke machine to give you a nice visual indicator of the airflow of this case with how we have it configured. Obviously, it'll vary depending on your setup, but basically we'll take the smoke, it'll come in through our 3 air intake fans, and you'll see it exhaust out the back here, and some of it will naturally rise up as well too with the warm air. All right, a lot of smoke in there. You'll notice too, some of it's exhausting out the bottom too with our power supply fan. How sweet is that though? So cool. It's way too fun. But again, most of that air, cool air is being brought in, hitting that middle fan through our CPU cooler, and then coming out that rear exhaust fan. Maybe you can see too, if we just put a little bit of smoke out here, the airflow of the fans actually pulling in that cool air. So obviously I'm not injecting it into the computer directly, but you'll see we still have a lot of smoke exhausting out the backside. because it's pulling the nearby air into the case and exhausting it. Again, you'd expect that. That's very commonplace, but it's just cool to see it actually visualized with smoke. Now let's talk about our case performance in regards to temps. We have everything idle right now with our PC. It's booted up. Both panels are on. You'll see our CPU current average temperature is 35 degrees Celsius at idle. We have a nice breakout too for all the parts and components of the motherboard that it's measuring. That's ranging anywhere between, looks like around 32 degrees Celsius up to 51 degrees Celsius for our averages. Further down, our M.2 drive, 34 degrees Celsius, and you'll see our GPU at idle is about 36 degrees Celsius. Now we're gonna stress this out under a full load to see how warm everything gets. All right, so both the CPU and the GPU are being stressed right now with Cinebench and Furmark running at the same time. You'll see our temp results here. We did peak at 100 degrees Celsius for our CPU, so we were hitting the thermal throttling. Technically, right now, we're below that, but you'll see our package and Core Max scores are at that 100 degrees Celsius mark. That's not going to be so much a knock against the case as it would be the cooler paired with our 13600. But again, we're maxing it out at 100% utilization, so, you know, take it for what it is. It's about what you would expect, at least from what I've seen typically. Everything else looks good, though. Maybe we moved a notch up for the M.2 drive. Obviously, our GPU's up to about 67 degrees Celsius, but again, well within range for max load. That's a 3060 with dual fans, so I think that's running great if you ask me. So we're building up a lot of heat in the case, but it's doing a good job. I wouldn't say it's holding us back or causing any sort of thermal issues or concerns. So after building in the Cooler Master TD500 Mesh V2, let me share with you my final thoughts. I've had the privilege of using both the regular V1 original, whatever you want to call it, and now the V2, and I like the V2 a lot better. It's definitely the way to go. The improved I/O panel on the front is a welcome addition with the USB Type-C. Reconfiguring our audio jack as well as the reset switch into our LED control for the built-in controller is a nice touch. This is a great case to build in. I think it's the perfect size. I like the aesthetics on the front. We also get the 3 included ARGB fans. It's really a nice, spacious case. And I like that we have some of those customization features like removing the power supply shroud, or if we want to take the hard drive trays out, we can do all that. With this particular case, I think the same thing stands with the previous model. I really wish they included that 4th fan, that we would have an included exhaust fan. That should definitely be something that comes with this by default. Now, that might increase the price point a little bit, but chances are you'll be buying one yourself anyways. But again, for me, it'd be nice, since they already gave us 3 fans, give us that 4th fan installed for exhaust out the back. That way, maybe if you're like me, you're using a tower cooler or something like that, you might not need any additional upgrades or any other components. But it's a nice, solid case, available in black or white, and it does a great job. So just pick and choose depending on the color, and obviously get the case if you like the aesthetic, and if you don't, there's plenty of other options out there.